Hey folks, welcome back to Day at the Dude Ranch. Captain James Nelson here. And guess what? We're getting back to building a guitar. And that's why I know a lot of you tune in. So you're going to get a chance to watch us build a guitar. Now we may interrupt the episodes here and there to do some demos because we're also finishing up guitars that we've already been working on. But this guitar is going to be very special. And this whole series, you're going to want to watch this one from first episode to the last episode. I don't know how many there are going to be. I can't tell you that because I'm doing something I've never done before. Now you may see there's a lot of guys out there that are bragging about, you know, what they've done with they're taking like big chunks of wood, just single chunks of wood, and they're making a guitar out of it. And you could do that, of course. You don't have to make the neck separate, the body separate, put them together with bolts or glue or whatever. You can actually make a complete guitar out of one chunk of wood. Now a lot of guys are doing that, and they're doing it with CNC machines. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Once I get mine going, trust me, I'll be using it. But I'm going to do it without a CNC machine. We're going to do it with a good old MDF template. Trace around, cut around, bandsaws, handheld routers, you know, probably even, who knows, probably using some of these things, you know, hand tools, and one way or the other, we're going to do it. Now I got this beautiful chunk of African mahogany, and originally I was going to put a top on it. I'm going to cut the top anyway because I still got my really nice Resaw blade on the bandsaw, and I want to do that. So I'm gonna cut some tops, and then we may top it with some of that, and we may just go with the mahogany. It's really beautiful. I'm not kidding. Stick around. You're going to love it. And we're going to do this, which I believe in my mind, I haven't done it before, so it's real easy to be judgmental and not know what I'm talking about. But in my mind, when I'm thinking of how I'm going to do this, it's got to be the least efficient way to make an electric guitar, a solid body, because it looks like it's going to be awkward. It may be less work. It may be more work. I don't know. But it's something I'm willing to give it a try, and it's going to be, oh, did I mention something else about this guitar that's going to be pretty neat? This is going to be a classical nylon string type guitar, but it's going to be solid body, okay? So it's going to be solid body. It's going to look like an electric guitar for the most part. The headstock's going to be a giveaway. Obviously, the big fat white strings are going to give it away, but it's going to be neat. There's going to be no sound chamber. I'm not even doing any type of weight relief type sound holes. Nothing. It's going to be a solid chunk piece of wood with a bridge on it. Neck is going to be right in the same piece of wood. We're going to have fretboard. It's for all intents and purposes, it's a guitar. It's going to have nylon strings, going to have a piezo bridge system, and it's going to be in the hands of a great jazz guitarist. So stick around. It's going to be fun. All right. Thank you. All right. So it's kind of a standard thing around here that right when I want to do something, I look down and I see other things that I'm already doing that I got to tidy up or get going or get out of the way. Something like that. Anyway, yeah. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. Is that what it is? So here we've got some hard maple, and we've got a template. This is for an ESP conversion neck. So customer has an 8-string ESP, and we're making a conversion neck. We're going with a little longer scale for them. And so we've got to do that. And then we've got my buddy Zach over there. And look at that. So Zach, this one's yours. I got to get that thing going. So yeah, so I think I know I got the body card. We just don't have it all cut. And it's from that same piece of maple that I'm going to cut another top that might go on Vernon's guitar. So, you know, it all fits in with the theme. So we've got to get this neck going. It needs quite a bit of work. We need the radius, the fret markers, side markers, the frets, the ears to finish out the shape here, and then of course trim this to where it's supposed to be. So, you know, we've got that going on, and then obviously all the other shaping. So yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of work left on that, but it's most of the heavy stuff is is done. Now it's just down to the fine details. And look, there's that fretboard for that ESP conversion. So that's going to be cool. We just need to get some things out of the way. So like I said, I've got that bandsaw blade that I want to use before I change it. I'm going to want my my contour blade, which is going to be a lot smaller. I think I've got a 3/8 that I'm ready to put on there, and it's got a soft back, where right now I've got a stiff back 5/8, or it might even be 3/4. But really, I've got a really thick blade on it. You'll see it here in a sec. We'll get going on it. But that one's really good for cutting a straight line, which you want with a neck blank. So I'm going to cut these things and to get them ready to laminate. So I've got a little bit of cutting and a little bit of sanding. Make sure everybody's all, it looks like it's all the planing is done, at least on the sides that matter. And then we're going to laminate and clamp them, because since I don't need the clamps, I also don't need this in the way. I might as well use them, clamp it up, set it aside, and get on to Vernon's. All right, so first off, we're going to split this beautiful hard maple into 3 sections. Actually, I guess we're splitting in 4, but we're only using 3, so that's what matters. And by doing that, again, I'm keeping that real nice fat, thick bandsaw blade on there, because it just cuts straight lines probably better even than my table saw at this point. And I'm doing it with freestyle, without a fence. Just slice it right through. And then we're going to laminate it. Now, there's a couple different reasons why you want to laminate, and strength is numero uno. So that's what we're doing. So I've got the, notice how I marked them A, B, and C. That's because A and C are actually the first one that I split, and then the B, that's the middle one from another section. So you've got what I call the parentheses. So you split them, and then you fold them in half left to right, and then you put another board down the middle. And I could do that with anything. I've done it with various woods. My most common is going to be maple with a walnut in the center. And maple, this customer wanted all maple, and not figured, not soft at all. This is really hard rock maple. And so that's why we're using the sander here now to clean it up and get it ready for glue. There's your glue. And I probably over glue on these. Probably don't need as much, but I do. And then I over clamp, which squeezes most of that glue right back out. That's why I think that I probably over glue. But it is really hot today, and I wanted to make sure that everything was covered. So that's why I'm gluing both sides. Now this means that they'll tack up really well during the time that it takes me to get this going. So you're seeing it in high speed, but this is actually taking a couple minutes. And I just wanted to make sure that it didn't just tack up too much on one side and then not laminate well. Last thing you want is a laminated neck to fall apart. I'm pretty sure that's the last thing you want. Well. And here we go, just clamping it. Now I like to use some callings. You see I've got a steel bar there, and then 2x3, or what was, I think it's just cut down, but anyway. And there it is. Clamping it. You know, if you got really nice parallel clamps, probably don't need all these calling bars, but I just do it because I've got these little cheap HF clamps there. Not much to it than that. You know, it's a quick little job. Like I said, something that needed to get done for this customer's order. So get it done, get it out of the way so we can get back to the guitar in hand. So here you go, and knock it out, move it out, set it aside, let it cure. And now what I'm doing is I'm tracing this little cheap classical type guitar that I've had around for a while. I got it in a closet cleaning from a gal, you know, basically cleaning up her brother's closet. Got a bunch of other electric guitar parts, took those and made parts casters out of them, and that's kind of essentially how I started Dude Craft Guitars. Kind of funny. And anyway, so I've just had that guitar laying around, and since that's what the project at hand calls for, you see I'm using it as a model. So we took that, and then I took a tracing, that other MDF piece is a tracing from Vernon's favorite electric guitar that he plays, and I'm basically just going to meld these two into the new guitar. So yeah, that's how we do it. So I'm right now I'm drawing around that tracing, and then later on what you're going to see is I'm going to adapt the body even more and give it that dude styling. If you notice, a lot of the dude craft guitar styles, you know, we have that notch back, and then we drop the lower horn a little bit, kind of fade it down. And that's what we're going to do on this one. This now, I'm just making sure that I know where center line is. I've got straight lines for my neck profile, so this neck is going to be quite a bit wider than your standard electric guitar. And so I'm getting that all set up, and then I'm going to get the headstock and mess around with something here. Now, that what you're going to see me draw here on the headstock is not going to be the final answer. I want to kind of modernize it a little bit. Your traditional nylon string classical type guitars, you're going to see that the headstocks widen out at the end, and that kind of stretches the strings to kind of bow out. Your modern electric 3x3 headstock is going to do the opposite, so the lines are a little straighter, the string lines, I should say. And that's what I'm going to end up going on with later. But I'm just right now, I'm just kind of just getting basic shape going so I can get this thing cut out and get it started. So now back to that neck. What I've done is I've taken the clamps off, and now the very important part is get everything all squared up. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just easing it off with the saw here, and then I'm going to put it on my jointer planer and get it all squared up there, and then run it through the old sander again a couple more times, and then just make sure that everything's nice and squared off, and then from there I can make the neck blank. Now, if you might notice that this thing looks awfully chunky, it looks like a ballast or a post that you would use in construction, and that's basically the way I like to make my necks. A lot of times I'll make them way too long on purpose, just for the reason that I actually do get more than one unit out of this. So that's just how I do it, and that's just to me that's the best way of using all this wood, and just making a single piece. You wouldn't have to do this, obviously, but so now we're back to center line stuff again. And on the next, what I do now, I've got my center line ruler. What I like to do is I like to find center line off the center of that center piece. Does that make sense? Basically, instead of looking at the center of the whole unit, there's no guarantee that the A and the C at this point, now that we've been through the sander a few times and the shaper, there's no guarantee those are exactly the same size, but that one in the middle has not moved. So what I'd like to do is get the center line off that and then go from there. You also got to get the truss rod all lined up and know exactly where I'm going to route for that. So that's essentially it. I mean, it's just good old-fashioned measure it out, figure out where you're going to go and what you're going to do, and then do it. So we're going to route out the truss rod cavity channel. Then we're also going to route channels for those guys right there. That's right. So those are carbon fiber rods. I get them in a long stick, and then I cut them to length according to the neck that I'm making. And you can see that's the better rod to use. And back to Vernon's top. So what we think we're going to use as a top. Now, whether or not he wants it as the top on this guitar is up to him. The mahogany that I've got also has a really lovely figure. So we may or may not even use this top. But before I change that bandsaw blade over to a contour blade, I figured I'd go ahead and do this resaw real quickly, because this will get used somewhere. It's basically Ambrosia Maple, but it's got some burly markings on it, and it's got some really cool figures. Just beautiful piece of wood. Check that out. You can't go wrong either way, but I think that's the way to go. So back to our lovely little drum sander to make sure everything gets all nice and flat, and then we're going to do the glue up on that. All right, so what we've got is a beautiful little Resaw top that we're going to use for this guitar. But if you look, see how it matches really well right there, but not so much right here. So what we're going to need to do is straighten those up. That means what I thought I had a nice planed end here was not so much. So we're going to reassemble it, tape it up, and try to smoothen that out. Now there's a couple different ways you could do this. Some guys will use a hand plane and they'll make what's called a shooter board, and this will basically sit on the shooter board and the hand plane is able to run sideways. I'm not going to do that. You can put it through the power planer, the jointer, and I think that's what I'm going to do. However, I've got to be very careful and go really low pass. I can't go all Tim the Toolman Taylor on it and really go for more power, because again, this stuff is pretty soft and brittle, and you've already seen this is from the lumber yard, the mill yard. So their planer actually chipped it, and they've got helical heads. I don't. So my cheap little Home Depot planer is bound to chip it out pretty well. So I'm going to be as very careful as possible, and then finish it off with basically just a sanding bar, just the same thing that we use for our fret jobs. So let me just tape it up real quickly. When it comes to being fully aligned, once I get it all done, if it's nice and properly done and ready to go, you'll know as soon as you fold it over, you'll just see that line just disappear. So I'm going to tape it here, and it's just like flattening a deck of cards, you know. Just tap on it, get it nice and as flat as you can get it. And then I'll put, looks like the last little bit of tape I've got. Put it on the opposite end. And that should hold it really well. Okay, so let's go over to the jointer and get it from there. Alright, and just like that, you know, we're back down to my disclaimer where I say that I am not the foremost authority on anything, but I know how to get this to look pretty good. So we're going to do that, and first of all, we're going to do is take a little bit of this side that we're not going to need, and take the Shinto and just kind of get some scrapings going. It's a wonderful sound, isn't it? Okay, we're going to use the rougher side of the Shinto, and then the finer side. Okay, and then we're going to mix that in. I've already got some sawdust from the bandsaw, because we know my vacuum doesn't clean up all of it. And let's see here. Okay, so we got that. That should be more than enough. Now, if this was all perfect and dandy, we basically don't need clamps to hold it together. It's close enough to perfect. I don't know if I'd call it dandy. Or maybe I'd call it dandy, but not perfect. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to flip it. This is the back side. And then we're going to do basically something very similar to a butterfly stitch. Now, if you've been in a workshop long enough, you probably know what a butterfly stitch is. But hopefully, or a butterfly bandage, I should say. But hopefully, it was not for anything too serious. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going across that divide there, across the two pieces, the split, the part that we're gluing, to get it nice and tight. Now I'm going to run along it. So just like that. Okay. So again, in a perfect world, we bring those two together like this, and it won't take much. You notice how all I got to do is lift on either end and just squeezes it together. That's basically what I'm going to do here. So first, let's get our glue. Flip it open, like cracking a book. And I'm probably going to use more than necessary when it comes to glue. I usually do. And I'll probably spread it just a little bit. Just because it looks pretty when you do that. Okay, and then close it up. Now, a lot of folks will tell you that if you're going to finish this just like this on this seam, not to scrape the glue off while it's still wet, because you're going to be grinding into the pores. We're going to sand this some more, so I'm not too worried. But what I'm going to do moreover is not only am I going to clean off that glue, but I'm going to mash in some of this dust, shaving some of the wood that we've got here. I'm going to clean off. And you can see as I'm doing this, I am mashing it into that the pores of that wood. And I know for sure that it is because we sanded this thing on the drum sander, which is a 40 grit. And you can see how smooth and shiny it is. So it's basically just like laminating it. Okay, so we've got, as we know, some spots that aren't all that pretty. And we're just going to fill in with this dust. Okay, about like that. And then we're going to take some of the old belt off the belt sander, and we're going to sand it into there. All right. Now, remember I showed you all you need is a little bit of lift, and it takes care of squeezing that thing together. Well, it is the summertime, and I've got plenty of these popsicle sticks around. And that's all it's going to take, is just putting in some of these popsicle sticks on either side. And voila, we've got enough pressure to put that thing together. That's it. That's all I got to do to glue this thing. So I'll let it sit for no less than 4 hours. We're going to go get our dinner thing going. And that's it. Now, if you want to be a little more sure that it's going to be enough leverage on the outside and enough bow on the end, you know, put a 2x4 on it. Boom. And that's going to squeeze it together, and that's going to give you enough glue power. Thanks again for tuning in to Dude Craft Guitars. I really appreciate it. You know, guys, please leave comments. If you're not a subscriber already, subscribe. If you got friends that you think might like it, share this with them and get them to subscribe. And ring that bell so you know what the next episode is going to show. Yeah, follow this build along. You're really going to like it. I know I am. I'm already anticipating liking this one. So I like them all. What can I say? Thanks again for tuning in.